All right, if you're watching this video, you should have completed the practice test and you're ready to check your answers. If you've not done it, please don't just copy my answers. Stop the video and go do it now. Let's check the answers first. Number 1 is B, 2 is A, 3 is C, 4 is B, 5 is B. 6 had 2 parts. Part A was 8 and part B was 24. Number 7 is 6.57. Number 8 is 9.3. Number 9, the standard deviation was 7.7 and the variance was, you could put 59.3 because I think it said round to the nearest tenth. Number 10 is 11.2. Number 11, make sure you have a negative, 2.14. Number 12 is 35.5, 13 is 100, and 14 is 9.4. So if I'm going too fast, remember, pause the video and catch up. 15 is 86. Now number 16, it asked you how many scores fit that range. It was 7. So the answer is 7, but I went ahead and listed the 7 values just in case you answered it that way. On 17, I believe it wanted to know who had the greatest or the highest number of dollars raised. So the answer is Deborah, but I do have the 4 values here if you would like to check those as well. Number 18 asked you to circle the ones that fit the criteria, and there should be 6 numbers circled: 77, 79, 80, 83, 87, and 88. 19 is B, and 20 is D. So if you did well and you're happy with your grade, then I would say you are ready for the test. Do this practice test as many times as you need to. Now I'm going to go through each question, so you can listen to them all, which I recommend if you're having trouble, or just fast forward to the ones that you missed. Okay, let's start off with number 1. You have all those values. To me, the easiest thing to do is to let the calculator do the work. So I'm going to go to Stat Edit, and in my list, I'm going to enter in the values: 7, 11, 12, 5, 5, 7, 7, and 10. Now, once those values are in there, I'm going to do Stat, arrow over to Calculate, 1 variable statistics, and then I have a lot of information here. I've got the x-bar, the mean is 8. Remember, you can get the sum of the data if you need it, the standard deviation if you need it. Arrowing down, the median is 7. So this was the average. The median is 7. I can get the range just by taking the maximum minus the minimum, which you can look at this graph and see that it's going to be 12 minus 5 or 7. But right here is the maximum. Right here is the minimum. So the range is 7. The mode you can't get off the calculator, but if you look at here, you actually have a mode of 5 and a mode of 7. You have 2 different modes. Now I'm ready to analyze the results. It says the mean is more than 9. Nope, it isn't. The median is less than 9. Yes, it is. The range is bigger than 7. Nope. The mode is 5. Nope, there's 2 different modes. And actually, I'm incorrect. The mode is not 5 at all. I forgot we have a 7 here. They're not in order. So if you calculated the median without a calculator, make sure that you did put them in order before you found your middle term. All right. Number 2, much the same way. You should have found the mean to be 20.2, the median to be 9, the mode to be 18, and the range to be 8. Now, the greatest of those is 20.2, which is the mean. All right, number 3. Pretty intense. You've got all these values in the chart. This is one that, gosh, you definitely, I think the calculator makes it so much easier. just kind of glancing through the answers, I noticed they're going to be asking about the medians and the means. So if I look through Beth's and I put hers in the calculator, for Beth, you're going to get an average of 62.9, and you're going to get a median of 63. For Carol, you're going to get an average of 59.1 and a median of 58. If you're not sure how to enter those in the calculator or do them manually, that's probably a good thing to call me and let me explain it to you. All right, let's check to see which answer is true. Beth has a lower median than Carol. Nope. Carol's median is higher than Beth's mean. Nope. Beth has a greater mean than Carol does. Yes. And they have the same medians? No. All right, so number 4, you have 2 different box and whiskers plots. They show how many computers each salesperson sold last month. Notice it wants you to use the median. Remember, the median is going to be this middle value right here to find the, I should say closest. Sorry for the typo. The closest difference between Angela and Carl. So if I look, Angela's maybe around 28 and Carl's about 31. So right away, I can see that's probably not a very good estimate because there's no answer there that's about 3. So then I'm going to reevaluate. All right, this really looks like it's probably around 25. And this is just a little bit more. So maybe 1 or 2. So I'm thinking maybe 6 or 7 more. And that's the answer for B. The others are nowhere close. So by process of elimination, you should have got rid of those. Okay, moving on. Number 5, you have another box and whiskers plot. In this case, somebody that was absent took the score and got a 60. And so she's going to redraw the plot. So if you think about it, if the student got a 60, that adds more down here. So the middle is going to shift slightly to the left. The highest score stays the highest, but the lower score moves down to the 60. So the one that is not true is B. Okay. Number 6, you have 2 different tests. Test 1 was 32 times and test 2 was 16 times. Remember, in a box and whiskers plot, each part is 25%. It's probably going to be used on this one. Part A says, how many times did test 2 receive 12 or more positive results? So for test 2, 12 or more is all of this. So that's half of it, or 50%. So 50% of the 16 times means 8. 8 times it got positive results. Now, for test 1, for 6 or higher, it's 25, 25, or 25, or 75% of the time, and it was given 32 times. So, you can enter it in as 0.75 times 32, or if we reason through it, half would be 16, and then another half would be 8. So 75% is that half and that quarter. In other words, the 16 and the 8, or 24 times. Yes, you can enter in 0.75 times 32 and get the same answer. Just like here, you could do 0.50 times 16. Okay, for number 7, for the MAD, you need the average. Add them up and divide by how many you have. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the calculator and get an average of 96. Now for the deviation, you have to figure out how far away each score is from the 96. So from 84 to 96 is 12. From 88 to 96 is 8. From 93 to 96 is 3, etc. There are 7 scores. So you'll add them up and divide by 7. It does say to round to 2 decimal places, so 6.5. 57. All right, number 8 is another standard deviation. This time you have to read the stem and leaf plot. Quite a bit of numbers, so I definitely recommend using the calculator. Let's go ahead and enter that one in. So your values are 60, 64, and 69. Now I'm ready to do the 70s. 71, 72 twice, and 78, 82, 84, and 85, 87 twice, and 90. Whoops, messed up on that one. 90. Stat, calculate, one variable statistics, and going back and reading the problem again, it wants the standard deviation, which is right here, so 9.3. Okay. Question number 9. Again, putting it into the calculator, you can get the standard deviation to be 7.7. If you need to square it to get the variance, you do get 59.29. Rounding it to one decimal place, it would have been 59.3. Now, number 10, it gives you the variance, and you're looking for the standard deviation. So it's giving you this, and you're looking for this. So you're square rooting it. The square root of 125 to the nearest tenth is 11.2. Okay. One more page. I think this is the hard page. It's actually not. It's just a lot to remember. So on this one, it's wanting the z-score. So remember, for the z-score, you take the average and subtract it away from the element that you're talking about. So right away, you should see this is going to be a negative. Then you're going to divide by the standard deviation, and that does give you negative 2.14. Okay, all right, so for number 12, Bill has sold boxes of popcorn, but we don't know how many. We do know that the average in his Boy Scout troop was 25 and that the standard deviation was 7, giving a z-score for him of 1.5. Now you want to cross multiply or multiply both sides by 7, however you want to think about it, and you're going to get 10.5. Adding the 25 to both sides, you see that Bill sold 35.5 boxes of popcorn. I think a more realistic answer would be 35 boxes because you can't sell half a box. So 36 wouldn't be reasonable either. All right, moving on to 13. Jonathan earned a 72 on his test minus, we don't know the average, divided by the standard deviation, which was 10, gives the z-score of negative 2.8. Multiply both sides by 10. Subtract the 72. Notice that's a negative m equals a negative 100. Negative divided by negative gives you an average score of 100. It's a pretty good test. Okay, so number 14. Let's see, we know that Hillary posted 35 times on Instagram minus the average of 18 divided by the standard deviation that we don't know gives her z-score of 1.8. All right, 35 minus 18 is 17. 1.8 times x equals 17. 17 divided by 1.8 gives a standard deviation of 9.4. Okay, so on problem 15, James scored a 92, which was 2 standard deviations above the average. That means the average in the class was less than what he scored. So your answer has to be smaller than 92. If you put 98, obviously that's bigger than 92 and you did something wrong. He's 2 standard deviations above. So you need to subtract a standard deviation of 3 twice. And that's going to give you the answer of 86 for the class average. All right, number 16. you have an average of 27.5 for this data with the standard deviation, and you want to know how many of those are less than the 0.7. Well, I don't think that I want to do this for every single point. So I'm going to treat it as an inequality. I need to know what the scores are such that I subtract out the average and divide by the standard deviation to get an answer that's less than 0.7. Okay. So I'm going to multiply 9.3 times 0.7 and get 6.51. And I'm going to add 27.5 to that, and I get 34.01. So I need the scores that are less than 34.01, and that would be all of these, 17 up to 29. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scores. So the question said how many? So the answer is 7 scores. Okay, number 17. Let's see, you're given the mean, standard deviation, and the student score. They're dollars for the fundraiser. That's the average. So you're going to have to, for each problem, figure out Andy's minus 57 divided by the 10 to get a z-score of 2.5. Barbara's minus the average of 55 divided by 13 to get a 1.4. Clinton's minus the 60 divided by 11 to get 1.8. And Deborah's minus the 58 divided by the 12 to get 2.1. Now, you're going to work each individual problem out. Doing that, you figure out that Andy sold $57. Barbara sold $73.20. Clinton sold $79.80. And Deborah sold $83.20. Okay, you might want to pause the video and do all those 4 problems if you did not already do them and get them right. Because once you have the answers, it's easy to see that the greatest is Deborah. Number 18, you have got the points that a basketball team scored, and you've got their average is 83. And the standard deviation is 6.5. You want to be within 1 standard deviation. So you want to be 1 standard deviation above and 1 standard deviation below. So if you do that, you're going to get 89.5 and 76.5. So you want all the amount of points scored to be between those 2 numbers. So above 76.5 starts here, and below 89.5 starts here. So you should have circled the values 77, 79, 80, 83, 87, and 88. Okay, 2 more questions and we are done. Number 19, it gives you the average and the z-score for 2 different points. And you want to figure out what those points can be. So you're going to first just need to kind of rationalize what's going on here. That 0 is a pretty important point. If the z-score is 0, that means that the number, that data point, is actually what the mean is. Because remember, when you get a z-score, you're going to divide, and if you have a 0 on the top, you're going to get an answer of 0. So that can only happen for A if it's a 60, because a 60 minus the 60 is going to give you a 0. So right away I can eliminate those 2 answers. Now, looking at these 2, if your z-score is negative, remember you take the value and you subtract the average. So if I did 58 minus 8 and subtract the 60, that's going to give me a negative. But if I did the 61.2 subtract the 60, I'm going to get a positive. So I know the only way it's going to work out for me is if I have a negative, so that's answer B. Okay, think that one through. If it confused you, just see how I looked at the answers and kind of worked backwards. All right, for the last one, you've got a mean, a standard deviation, and a z-score, and you're looking for the interval of the data. Well, let's think about it for a second. If the standard deviation is 3, then you're going to be above or below by intervals of 3. So if I do 28 and subtract 3, I get 25. So the low part is going to be the 25. So I'm thinking it's probably C. But look what happens. When you add the 3, you get 31. So that means that that data point is somewhere between the 25 and the 31. This didn't take into account where the data point would be because I didn't use the z-score information. So let's think about the point minus the average of 28 divided by the standard deviation of 3 is going to give a z-score of negative 1.5. If you multiply by 3, you're going to get p minus 28 equals negative 4.5. Add your 28 to both sides, and you're going to get 23.5. So the data point of 23.5 has to fall in the range. Well, it's not between 31 and 34. It's not between 28 and 31. And it's not between 25 and 28. So none of those work. It is between 22 and 25. And that's why the answer was D. So be careful when you're getting an answer that you just don't only use 2 pieces of information. Use all 3 pieces. Okay, be sure to watch as much of this video over again and redo the practice test as many times as needed before you take the real test, because you can only take that test once. Call me if you have any questions.